the idea that, there are certain limitations on what I can actually grow up to be, as in I cannot become a truck, didn't occur to me. My best friend at the time wanted to be an eagle when he grew up. It turns out that people can't grow up to be eagles.
Right.
And it turns out that boys cannot grow up to be women. It just is how it is. You can't do it. But children can believe these things, and they can be kind of sucked into a path to try to affirm that. This is how we do that. Did you know that gender is really complicated? Blah, 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 blah. And so I started calling them groomers last year for a reason. I don't think it's all sexual grooming. I think there's a lot of identity grooming, or if we need a word for it, or cult grooming into this. And I will say, this religion of gender and sexual identity that they've constructed, where normalcy is kind of the fall of man, and that you have to overcome that and get back into the idyllic garden where there was no differentiation of sex, gender, and sexuality, and everybody could just do what they wanted and everything was great. Before, we ate from the fruit of the tree of knowledge and saw that we were naked and were embarrassed, which is, but if you see this from the perspective, nobody understands this, maybe you'll understand this, they're Gnostics. Mm-hmm. If you read their other papers, I didn't talk about Eve Sedgwick, another key queer theorist. She has this paper she wrote in 1988 called The Epistemology of the Closet. It's confusing because she turned it into a book by the same title in 1990, and that paper is the first chapter of the book. But that paper is literally the single most Gnostic document I've ever read outside of just straight Gnostic mystical religion stuff. They believe that we are in a prison, but that oppression gives you access, a glimpse of absolute knowledge of what it's like back in the garden.
Gnosticism is special knowledge, just so people people know.
It's
and a form of it has always been around. I mean, if you read the book of Colossians, that's what Paul is dealing with. He's like, all of these Gnostics that say that you have access to special knowledge through XYZ. So humans have always kind of been fascinated by that. And yes, we've talked about that before with standpoint epistemology and all of that as well.
I thought you were actually going to bring up the book of Genesis in chapter 3.
Well, that's true.
This is the perennial, literally the perennial fight with humanity, is that there are people who think that they have access to gain special knowledge, and it's going to give them special abilities and special access, and it's actually a catastrophe.
Yes, did God really say, that's what Satan first said to Eve, did God really say that if you eat of this fruit, you will surely die? And basically how Satan tempts Eve is, no. He's basically, God is just jealous. He's just scared that you're going to become like him, that you're going to become so powerful. And I do think that that is what people are still believing, that lie, that temptation today. You can be like God with access to special knowledge.
We can remake our bodies however we want. But what we have here then is the normal, or the bourgeois, or the whites, basically telling people, no. We can't destigmatize. We'll stay with the normal, the queer thing for the sake of the discussion. But the normal people are telling the freaks, the perverts, as Gail Rubin calls them, no, we can't destigmatize because then you'll be like us. And so we have to oppress you. We have to keep you in ignorance. We have to keep you excluded. We have to keep you in what Paulo Freire calls a culture of silence, where you don't even have a voice to speak up and you're fully oppressed. We have to, otherwise you'll become like us. And you can see it's literally the same story. This is why I recently made a meme. I took one of the famous classical art of the fall of man, one of the paintings that some Renaissance artist did, and I took it and I put on there kind of like a headline that you would see in the news today. Serpent tells Eve, if you eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, you will not surely die, but if you do, it's a good thing, and here's why. Which is the lie that they always tell. But this is the same thing. It's literally the same thing. In queer theories, I think, I can't read it and not see Gnosticism. You're trapped in a body, you're imprisoned in a body, but there's a special knowledge that everything's socially constructed. And if you understand that special knowledge, the social construction of reality, then you can escape the prison, and you can escape the prison with everybody else. And that's all it really boils down to.